As the president attempts to deploy more National Guard troops into U.S. cities that he deems war zones, a federal judge blocked 2 attempts by the administration to deploy California and Oregon's National Guard into Portland. The White House claims there are riots in the city.
What was unlawful with the Oregon National Guard is unlawful with the California National Guard. The judge's order was not some minor procedural point for the president to work around like my 14-year-old does when he doesn't like my answers.
So as that hearing was unfolding, the Trump administration activated a 3rd state's National Guard. Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a statement saying he, quote, fully authorized the president to call up 400 members of the Texas National Guard. The plan is to send them to Oregon and also to Chicago, where the situation is growing more tense by the hour. Federal agents threw tear gas at protesters over the weekend. One woman was shot by agents after allegedly ramming her car into an ICE vehicle. The Department of Homeland Security also released this edited video promoting its raid of a Southside apartment complex last week. The raid resulted in 37 arrests and separated 4 American children from their undocumented parents. Illinois governor says the raid was designed to create panic.
What kind of a country are we living in? And this raid at this building is emblematic of what ICE and CBP and the President of the United States, Kristi Noem and Greg Bovino, are trying to do. They want mayhem on the ground. They want to create the war zone so that they can send in even more troops. Now they're claiming they need 300 of Illinois' National Guard.
Joining me now in the group chat, Sarah Fisher, CNN senior media analyst and senior media reporter at Axios, Stephen Collinson, CNN politics senior reporter, and Sabrina Rodriguez, national politics reporter at The Washington Post. You guys, thank you for helping me start the week. I know that was a lot of jarring imagery, but I'm interested in it because Chicago was one of those cities where you saw a difference in voting patterns after the election. Latino voters moved to Trump. There were some black voters who stayed home. And now those very people right now are under threat, right, based on what we're seeing from ICE. So help me understand, Sabrina, what is it that the administration is trying to address here by drawing the National Guard from all these different places?
What we've seen from the Trump administration, their playbook in recent months has been talking about deploying troops to cities that the president deems are unsafe, have high crime rates. He sort of has painted this picture of these as very violent cities that, you know, the troops need to come in and get control. It, you know, is not a coincidence, of course, that these are Democratic-led cities that he has long, you know, bashed the leadership of, even prior to his second term starting.
But don't you just sort of elevate someone like Pritzker, right? Like now I feel like I see Pritzker every week.
Yep, and look what happened with Gavin Newsom. Part of his political career now has been his ability to push back on Trump and do it in a very national and visible way. I also think this is the same problem that we saw when they tried to do this in California, when they did this in D.C., which is that people who voted for Donald Trump, Latinos and others, a lot of them understand that immigration is a priority writ large. It's the way that they go about it. And when you see this type of dramatic imagery being shown on national television of parents being separated from their children, of people being rammed into cars, that does not support what most people in any city want to see.
But does it support the idea that ICE needs to be protected and therefore you have to send more people in?
I think it supports the idea that what the president is doing is trying to impose power everywhere through the states, in cities. It makes him look good to his supporters, which is mostly what he's done throughout the span of his 2 presidencies. It's interesting how the administration seems to reserve a lot of its more authoritarian moves for weekends when people aren't watching. So you have all these court battles unfolding late at night at a weekend. You have this Trump-appointed judge, first of all, saying you can't federalize the National Guard in Oregon. Then the administration decides, okay, well, we'll just send some troops from California there. The same judge had to come out on a Sunday night and have a hearing and was pretty exasperated because she was arguing the conditions for the deployment of federal troops in a state that there is some kind of rebellion against the federal government are not in place here. So I think the question is, does the administration keep trying to push this? You saw the troops from Texas. Does it move a step further and invoke the Insurrection Act, which would create an even bigger legal
Which
battle
is what
and
Pritzker
potentially
is sort of
constitutional crisis?
arguing what they're doing. I want to show you guys recent polling on this. As always, I'm sort of interested in where independents are. But they were, how do you feel about Trump deploying National Guard to U.S. cities? I think partisan, it's pretty locked in to what you would expect. But the overall total is now at 58%. And for independents, that number is 67%. There's one other I want to show you. Trump administration focus on troop deployments to U.S. cities. Just the idea that they're focusing too much on it. This is cruising past 50% now. So at a certain point, does your promotion, say, Kristi Noem, and I sort of posting imagery as a good thing, is the public receiving it that way?
I don't think so. And by the way, on the concept of crime, one of the things we've found is that crime is an issue that people really care about. The challenge is this is not how people want the government to be going about tackling crime, particularly when the troops came here in D.C. One of the things that people were very vocal about is the places where we have crime, we need you to work with local law enforcement. Don't unilaterally send in the National Guard troops. And so I think when you see independents that are pushing back like this, it's not broadly because people think that tackling immigration is a bad idea. That's why a big reason why Trump won the election. It's just the way that he's going about it and the images that are being sent all over social media are not sitting well with people.